Hello there, everyone. If you're watching this video, then you are part of the TTOR army, an army that is building itself up one subscriber at a time. And as you can see from the title and thumbnail of today's video, today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. My friend Brett Keane a couple weeks ago asked me to create a video where I gave my top 10 reasons for why I am a Young Earth Creationist to this day. And so I decided to take Brett Keane up on that, and here you get this video where I give you 10 reasons why I am a Young Earth Creationist. Now, I will say up front that not all of the reasons for me being a Young Earth Creationist are scientific. Some of it has to do with what the Bible says. Some of it has to do with how Old Earth Creationists treat the Bible. Some of it has to do with what the Old Earth Creationists themselves say regarding Bible interpretation. But there are indeed scientific reasons why I am a Young Earth Creationist, and you'll see those presented in this video today as well. So if you're watching this video and you want to see scientific evidence for Young Earth Creationism, you're going to have to wait a little bit. But don't worry, you're going to get more than you asked for when it comes to scientific evidence supporting Young Earth Creationism. Now, the first reason why I am a Young Earth Creationist is the most important reason why I am a Young Earth Creationist and is the deciding factor in why I am a Young Earth Creationist. The Bible teaches a 6,000-year-old Earth and universe. Now, I've written blog articles in the past, and I've done multiple videos in the past where I laid out all of the genealogies and time spans provided by Genesis, Exodus, and 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 1, and used that data to prove that according to the Bible, the Earth and universe are a little over 6,000 years old. I'm not going to go over all that data again in this video, but if you go searching through my channel, or you read my book, Another Inconvenient Truth 2, Defending Young Earth Creationism, you will see crystal clear proof that the Bible teaches a 6,000-year-old Earth and universe. The evidence of a 6,000-year-old Earth and universe being taught by the Bible is so strong that it's irrefutable. And that is my number one reason why I am a Young Earth Creationist. But there are 9 more reasons why I'm a Young Earth Creationist, so let's get going through this. Reason number 2 is that honest Old Earth Creationists admit that the Bible teaches a 6,000-year-old Earth and universe if you don't reinterpret the Bible in light of deep time and evolution. Now, how do I know this is the case? Well, I'll give you some references that you can check out later in the description box below. First of all, back in 2019, my parents' former church, Ecclesia Eugene, was hosting a creationism seminar over the weekend, I think it was, at their office. And the basic idea was that one of the pastors of the church was going to teach biblical creationism, or at least teach what the Bible has to say on origins. And so I attended this seminar because at this point I didn't know what my church's position on the issue was, and I thought, well, I'll get all my questions answered at this seminar. In the first hour of the seminar, the pastor who was leading the seminar basically put out a timeline on a giant wipe-off board, basically putting out the spectrum of the different creationism positions. You had theistic evolution on one end, you had 2 forms of Old Earth Creationism in the middle, and at the other end you had Young Earth Creationism, which he called fiat creationism. And as he talked about theistic evolution and Old Earth Creationism, this pastor at my parents' church, who is an Old Earth Creationist, by the way, he was honest enough to admit that even though Old Earth Creationism lines up with the majority opinion of the scientific and academic community, either on origins entirely or at least with the community on the age of the Earth and universe. And he was honest enough to admit that even though that was true, Old Earth Creationism and theistic evolution run into all kinds of problems when it comes to the Bible and what it teaches. But then, when he got to Young Earth Creationism, he started out by saying, well, yeah, the Young Earth Creationism position is the most biblically sound. It lines up with the straightforward and contextual reading of the Bible. But then he started to talk about how he would reinterpret the Bible in order to justify his old earth creationism beliefs and in order to fit millions of years, billions of years into the Bible. But then he cut himself off when he realized what he was doing and he moved on to another topic. And so at that point, I was done. I didn't need to sit in on any more of the seminar because just the first hour showed that this pastor obviously was compromising on the Bible's teachings regarding origins, and my parents' former church clearly did not have the discernment when it came to allowing people to teach their creation seminar. I was told that basically every other pastor at my parents' church at the time was a Young Earth Creationist, and yet for some reason they thought it was appropriate to let the one old Earth Creationist in their ranks teach the creationism seminar. I find that to be a huge lack of discernment on their part. But it goes much deeper than that when it comes to old Earth creationists. William Lane Craig, as I documented in my video from a year ago titled William Lane Craig Lies About Bible Interpretation, Augustine and Origin, William Lane Craig, back in 2013, did an interview on a podcast where he was talking about how young Earth creationism is embarrassing. But when it came to Bible interpretation regarding origins, William Lane Craig literally said that, well, we're not supposed to reinterpret the Bible in light of the majority opinion of the scientific and academic community in regards to origins, but we're going to reinterpret the Bible anyway because I need to justify my old Earth creationism beliefs. And the only way I can do that while appealing to the Bible is to reinterpret the Bible in light of the majority opinion of the scientific and academic community, even though I'm not supposed to. And when William Lane Craig admitted this 10 years ago, he was committing to word the thoughts that most old Earth creationists don't dare share. You see, old Earth creationists know that they're not supposed to reinterpret the Bible in light of the majority opinion of the scientific and academic community. But they want to believe what the majority opinion of the scientific and academic community has to say on origins, at least as far as the age of the earth and universe goes, and they know that a straightforward contextual reading of the Bible does not support that position. They know that the Bible teaches a 6,000-year-old earth and universe. So, in order to justify their old Earth creationism beliefs, they literally reinterpret the Bible in light of billions of years and or evolution, even though they know good and well they're not supposed to do that. The third reason why I am a Young Earth creationist today is because the law of entropy, the expansion of the universe, and the anthropic principle, all of which are scientifically confirmed at this point, are taught by the same Bible that teaches that the earth and universe are 6,000 years old. And just in case you don't believe me, let's go through the scriptures that teach these things. So here you can see on screen Psalm 102 verses 25 through 27, which says the following. In the beginning you laid the foundations of the earth, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They will perish, but you remain. They will all wear out like a garment. Like clothing you will change them, and they will be discarded, but you remain the same, and your years will never end. So as we can see in this passage, it says that the universe and the earth will perish, that they are wearing out like a garment. Well, that's exactly what the law of entropy teaches. The law of entropy teaches that the universe itself and everything in it, including the earth, when left to their own devices over time without any intelligent intervention whatsoever, will naturally wear down, break down, fall into disorder. They'll wear out, in other words. So, long before the law of entropy was verified as a scientific law, that law was talked about in the Bible long before it was discovered. Now, as far as the universe expanding, Isaiah 40:22 says, He sits enthroned above the circle of the earth, and its people are like grasshoppers. He stretches out the heavens like a canopy and spreads them out like a tent to live in. Now, this is just one of 5 different passages in the book of Isaiah alone that says that God stretches out the heavens. Now, stretch is a synonym for the word expand, and the way that heavens is used in this particular instance is synonymous with the universe. So there is no doubt that this passage is crystal clearly saying that God stretches out the universe. He causes the universe to expand. A lot of people will look at the expansion of the universe and conclude that this is evidence of billions of years in Big Bang cosmology. But the fact of the matter is that the same Bible that says that the earth and universe are 6,000 years old also says that the universe is expanding. The Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible. Whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. So in this passage in Colossians, not only does it say that Jesus is the image of the invisible God, and that he's the firstborn over all creation, and that all authority in heaven and on earth is his, but it says that he holds all things together. Hebrews 1:1-4 says, in the past, God spoke to our ancestors through the prophets at many times and in various ways. But in these last days he has spoken to us by his Son, whom he appointed heir of all things, and through whom also he made the universe. The Son is the radiance of God's glory and the exact representation of his being, sustaining all things by his powerful word. After he had provided purification for sins, he sat down at the right hand of the Majesty in heaven. So he became as much superior to the angels as the name he has inherited is superior to theirs. Now, in this passage in the book of Hebrews, it not only says that Jesus made the universe, it says that he sustains all things, including the universe, by his word. In Job chapter 34, verses 10-15, we read, So listen to me, you men of understanding. Far be it from God to do evil, from the Almighty to do wrong. He repays everyone for what they have done. He brings on them what their conduct deserves. It is unthinkable that God would do wrong, that the Almighty would pervert justice. Who appointed him over the earth? Who put him in charge of the whole world? If it were his intention and he withdrew his spirit and breath, all humanity would perish together and mankind would return to the dust. Now notice how in Colossians it says that Jesus is the image of the invisible God and that he holds all things together. And in Hebrews, it not only says that Jesus made the universe, but it says that he sustains the universe by his word. And then in Job 34, 10-15, it says that if God were to withdraw his spirit and breath, that we would all die. The anthropic principle teaches that there are constants, anthropic constants, that stay constant, and that if any one of these constants were to change in the slightest way, that all of the human race would perish, if not the rest of the universe. So according to the law of entropy, at least by implication, something is holding the universe and this reality together. And according to the Bible, that someone or something is God. And God makes it clear that if he was not holding everything together by his word, if he were to withdraw his spirit and breath, we would all die. And that is the third reason why I am a young earth creationist. It's because the law of entropy, the expanding universe, and the anthropic principle, at least in part, are things that are confirmed in science, and yet they're taught in the same Bible that says that the earth and universe are 6,000 years old. Reason number 4 as to why I am a young earth creationist today has to do with the man who created the concept of deep time. The man who created the concept of deep time based his entire concept on going to Siccar Point and arbitrarily stating that it took indefinitely long periods of time for each sediment layer that he saw there to be laid down. Now, who is this man in particular who came up with this theory? If you go to page 1 of the book James Hutton, the founder of modern geology, authors Donald McIntyre and McCurdy write, Scientists currently think that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Our present knowledge is the culmination of 2 centuries of research started by James Hutton, an Edinburgh man who demonstrated that the Earth was immensely old. Now, in the future, I will do a video that goes deeper into the whole issue of James Hutton and what he did, but let me best sum it up this way. James Hutton went to Siccar Point. He saw that there were these different layers of sediment for all the different geological layers he was seeing. He concluded that the layers must have been laid down at different times, but he arbitrarily concluded that it took indefinitely long periods of time for each layer to be laid down. But we know that James Hutton's theory, his hypothesis, is false because of reason number 5 why I'm a young Earth creationist today. The Mount St. Helens eruption in 1980 proved that hundreds of thousands of years' worth of sediment layers could be laid down in a matter of hours. And we know this because of this ICR article you see on screen titled 30 Years Later, The Lessons from Mount St. Helens. This article was written on, around the 30th anniversary of the Mount St. Helens eruption of 1980, and this is what the article points out. On May 18, 1980, a tremendous landslide on the northern side of Mount St. Helens in Washington state uncapped a violent volcanic eruption, completely altering the surrounding landscape. It is the most studied volcano in history and has reshaped thinking regarding catastrophic Earth processes. The Institute for Creation Research has studied the volcano over the past 3 decades, conducting research that has provided a suite of information lessons with broad-ranging implications. For example, the rapid outflow from the volcano caused massive amounts of sediment to fill in the entire valley adjacent to the mountain. And a 1982 dam breach of the snowmelt lake that had formed in the mountain's crater caused a catastrophic flood that tore a gash through those fresh deposits from 2 years earlier. To this day, the resulting steep-sided canyon walls can be seen, showing that horizontal sediment layers hundreds of feet thick were formed within hours during the eruption. This sparks the question, what other layered sedimentary rocks in Earth's crust were formed rapidly? The mountain also provided a clear reason to distrust the reliability of radiometric dating. A new rock cap atop the mountain that formed after the 1980 eruption should have shown it to be in the order of tens of years, but standard analysis gave the totally incorrect date of 350,000 years. What other rocks have been dated incorrectly by following those standard dating protocols? And then in the last 2 paragraphs it says this. Because of the Mount St. Helens eruption, scientists know that sedimentary rock layers can form in only hours rather than requiring millions of years. It also showed that radiometric dating is not necessarily accurate and that God gave animals and plants the ability to rapidly recolonize barren land. And the improved seismic prediction techniques that Mount St. Helens facilitated have also increased scientific understanding of Earth's geologic activities. But as much as Mount St. Helens has already revealed, surely it has more mysteries for researchers to uncover as investigations into its past and present processes continue. Reason number 6 why I'm a young Earth creationist today is because fully developed organisms appeared in the fossil record without any evidence of an evolutionary history, just as evolutionists predicted would be the case if young Earth creationism was true. Now, I have here on screen a slide with a quotation from the book Science on Trial, The Case for Evolution by Douglas Futuyima. Douglas Futuyima was a die-hard evolutionist who was absolutely opposed to creationism to the point where he wrote this book, which served as an apologetics book providing evidence for the truthfulness of evolution in billions of years and allegedly disproving creationism. But it is on page 197 of this 1983 book that Douglas Futuyima wrote, "Creation and evolution between them exhaust the possible explanations for the origin of living things. Organisms either appeared on the earth fully developed or they did not. If they did not, they must have developed from pre-existing species by some process of modification. If they did appear in a fully developed state, they must have been created by some omnipotent intelligence." So as we can see from that direct quotation from Douglas Futuyima, a die-hard evolutionist, he predicted that if young Earth creationism was true, then what we would see in the fossil record is that organisms and animals, all of them, or most of them anyway, would enter the fossil record fully formed and fully developed without any evidence of any evolutionary history. And lo and behold, that is exactly what happened here. On page 229 of his 1986 book, The Blind Watchmaker, Richard Dawkins wrote, "And we find many of them already in an advanced state of evolution the very first time they appear. It is as though they were just planted there without any evolutionary history. Needless to say, this appearance of sudden planting has delighted creationists." Now, Richard Dawkins was commenting on the Cambrian explosion, which is something that no one disputes. And what you see in the Cambrian explosion is that the vast majority of animals and animal groups entered the fossil record fully formed and fully developed without any evidence of an evolutionary history prior, which is exactly what Douglas Futuyima predicted we would find in the fossil record just 3 years earlier. So according to two of the most diehard evolutionists and atheists in the history of the Earth, the fossil record looks exactly how it should if young Earth creationism is true. Reason number 7 why I am a young Earth creationist today is that the decay rate of Earth's magnetic field proves that the Earth is 6,000 years old. And I know what you're thinking to yourself at this point. You're asking, how? How does the decay rate of Earth's magnetic field prove that the Earth is 6,000 years old? Well, let's talk a little bit about that. I'd like to start out by pointing out that up until recently, I have had an incorrect understanding of the narrative around the decay rate of Earth's magnetic field. For some reason, I thought that the last magnetic reversal for the Earth's magnetic field took place 10,000 years ago, but it turned out the source I was reading that wrong. It was actually much longer than that. But after correcting my understanding and thinking about the problem and doing some research into it, I realized that the decay rate of Earth's magnetic field is still a strong evidence for young Earth creationism, but not in the way that you would think. Well, what do I mean by that? In order to properly explain how the decay rate of Earth's magnetic field supports young Earth creationism, let's look into the issue. I have here on screen an article from Scientific American that was published on October 5th, 1998, titled, "Is it true that the strength of the Earth's magnetic field is decreasing? What's the effect?" When you scroll down the article, you read the following 2 paragraphs. Although magnetic reversals have occurred many times in the geologic past, it is not yet possible to predict when the next reversal will occur. The most recent reversal was about 700,000 years ago. In the past 200 million years, reversals have taken place every 500,000 years or so, but with no discernible regularity or pattern. At most places, there has been a general decrease in the strength over the past century, typically 10% or so. No one can say with any certainty whether this represents a fluctuation or whether it is a decrease which will eventually lead to a reversal. Past reversals have taken place over a short period of time, geologically speaking, 10,000 years or so. In order for a reversal to take place, there must be a brief time during which the field is non-existent. So according to Scientific American, back in 1998, the most recent magnetic reversal in relation to Earth's magnetic field took place about 700,000 years ago. And this means that there was a brief period of time where there was no magnetic field around the Earth. You see, the idea of magnetic reversals is that if you were to reverse time, then according to the current decay rate of the Earth's magnetic field, what you would discover is there is a point in the past where the magnetic field would become so strong that it would rip the core out of the Earth, and Earth would blow up like the planet Krypton. So to get around that problem, the scientific and academic community, which is made up of atheists and evolutionists, they hypothesize that, well, maybe once it reached a certain point, it suddenly just disappeared, and we had a period of thousands of years where there was no magnetic field around the Earth until eventually it formed again, and then it started going the opposite direction as far as the decay rate goes. And that basically this happens every so often. Magical how that works. No evidence whatsoever to prove any of that. We're just supposed to believe them, I guess. But this is the narrative they tell. 700,000 plus years ago, closer to 780,000 years ago, actually, there was a period of time where there was no magnetic field around the Earth, and this period of time was at least 10,000 years, if not a little longer. What would happen if there was no magnetic field around the Earth? Well, we have this article from Futurism titled 6 Horrible Consequences of Earth Losing Its Magnetic Field. You scroll down to bullet point number 4, which is cosmic rays could reach Earth's surface. Our magnetic field doesn't just give us beautiful auroras, it keeps us alive. Cosmic rays and the solar wind are harmful to life on Earth, and without the protection of our magnetosphere, our planet would be constantly bombarded by a stream of deadly particles. The effects of cosmic rays on the body can be pretty terrifying. While on lunar missions, for example, astronauts often reported seeing flashes of light when they closed their eyes, the direct result of cosmic rays passing through their retinas. A few even developed cataracts years later. Radiation and cosmic rays are a real concern for NASA, especially when it comes to long-term spaceflight. Astronauts on a mission to Mars could undergo up to 1,000 times the exposure to radiation and cosmic rays that they would get on the Earth. If Earth's magnetic field disappeared, the entire human race, and all of life in fact, would be in serious danger. Cosmic rays would bombard our bodies and could even damage our DNA, increasing worldwide risk of cancer and other illnesses. The flashes of light visible when we close our eyes would be the least of our problems. So according to science, if there was no magnetic field around the Earth for any period of time, then there would be nothing to protect the Earth or life on it from cosmic rays and solar wind and other harmful stuff. And what would happen as a result is that we would see an increase in cancer and other illnesses, and this would be due to the damage to our DNA that would be caused by us being exposed to solar winds and cosmic rays, the rays of the sun, and all that stuff. If this is all true, then there is no way the human race of the time would have survived that 10,000 years of there being no magnetic field around the Earth. They would have all died from cancer and other illnesses that were the result of their DNA being damaged by the cosmic rays and the solar winds. In other words, if all this stuff is true, we would not be around today to talk about it. But because we are around today to talk about it, then obviously none of this stuff can be true. And if the Earth and universe are only 6,000 years old, then the magnetic field decay rate issue goes away because the Earth and universe simply hasn't been around long enough for the decay rate of Earth's magnetic field to be a problem. But the way I see it is, if the evolution billions of years narrative of human history is true, our ancestors should have all died 700,000 years ago when there was no magnetic field around the Earth. And we shouldn't even exist today if that stuff is all true. But since we are here today to talk about the issue, then obviously evolution billions of years is false. The whole magnetic field issue is false. And Young Earth Creationism and a Young Earth just has to be true because we're here to talk about it. And if evolution in billions of years were true, we wouldn't be here to talk about it. Reason number 8 why I'm a Young Earth Creationist today is that the decay rate of the human genome is strong evidence that the human race is only 6,000 years old. Roughly 3 months ago, my creationist friend Sal gave a presentation on my channel called Destiny of the Human Race. His presentation in particular was a deep dive into the decay rate of the human genome. And it is at the 31-minute and 10-second mark of my video, his presentation, where we see Sal say the following.
And we have evolutionary biologists themselves giving these headlines. Why have we not died 100 times over? Why have we not died 100 times over? They're perplexed. We should be all dead by now. We can't figure it out.
So, as you guys can see from that clip, and especially by the visual aid of the clip, Sal presented a academic journal, a scientific journal, a secular one titled Contamination of the Genome by Very Slightly Deleterious Mutations. Why have we not died 100 times over? And basically what happened in the mid-90s was that the scientific and academic community found out that the decay rate of the human genome was of such a rate that they were curious as to how human beings were still alive if we're as old, and if the Earth and universe are as old as the scientific and academic community claims that it is. A huge problem if you believe in evolution in billions of years, but if you're a young Earth creationist, the decay rate of the human genome is not really that big of a problem because the human genome has only been around for 6,000 years. And that's why we're still alive to ponder why we have not died 100 times over due to the decay rate of the human genome. Reason number 9 why I'm a young Earth creationist today is that soft tissue found inside of dinosaur fossils and non-fossilized dinosaur bones is strong evidence that man and dinosaurs lived together at the same time, which is evidence of young Earth creationism because there are passages in the Bible where God describes a dinosaur to Job as Job is looking at it. On screen, you can see a video I uploaded to my channel a couple months ago titled Bombshell Discovery, Creationist Finds Soft Tissue in Triceratops Bone Disproving Evolution. And in this video, I talked about Mark Armitage and his 2012 discovery of some soft tissue inside non-fossilized Triceratops bone. Now, back in 2005, a lady named Mary Schweitzer found soft tissue inside T-Rex fossils, and the discovery was so earth-shattering and challenged the evolution billions of years narrative so strongly that she almost lost her job and her career over her discovery, but they could not refute her discovery. She got to keep her career, and so the evolutionists were left scrambling for an explanation as to how soft tissue could survive inside dinosaur fossils for millions of years. And then they came up with their story. Well, these fossils, iron acts as a preservative, and you can find iron in these fossils, and so this iron must be what's preserving this soft tissue over millions of years. And they concluded this because they did an experiment where, in a controlled environment that they manipulated, the scientists were able to get a ostrich bone to be preserved with hemoglobin over 2 years. And they extrapolated the 2 years of preservation to millions of years, which is completely just out to lunch. It's completely insane. That's a leap Evel Knievel could not have made. But then, in 2012, Mark Armitage discovered soft tissue inside of non-fossilized Triceratops bone, which completely destroyed the explanation that the scientific community had just come up with. Because Mark Armitage did not just find soft tissue inside non-fossilized Triceratops bone, he found this bone with this soft tissue just a couple of feet under the surface of the Hell Creek Formation in Montana, which is one of the worst environments on planet Earth to be a fossil in. The environment and the factors in it would result in any fossils buried just a couple of feet under the surface being eaten away. So the fact that the bone was still there and the soft tissue was still inside the non-fossilized bone proved that this dinosaur, this Triceratops, definitely was alive at the same time as human beings. And that's why Mark Armitage was fired from his job shortly after he published his findings in a peer-reviewed paper that appeared in an academic journal. And that's why he sued the university for firing him, and he ended up getting a huge settlement from them. The 10th reason why I am a young Earth creationist today has to do with this. The globalists tell us that if you reject young Earth creationism and accept some form of theistic evolution, then you have zero logical grounds for rejecting the globalist agenda. Now, how do I know this is true? Well, as you can see right here on the screen, I have an archived version of a 2017 USA Today article titled creationism support is at a new low. The reason should give us hope. In the last 3 paragraphs of the article, we read, "These tea leaves tell us that more people are refusing the all-or-nothing choice between faith and science and opting instead for a third way, acceptance of the overwhelming scientific evidence for evolution while seeing a divine role in the process. Divine evolution is a term some use for it. If we were to apply this approach to other stalemated arguments and false binaries, what other possibilities might emerge? Can't we support Black Lives Matter and police officers who serve conscientiously? Can't we support the legal availability of abortion and strategies that would reduce its incidence? Can't we accept the scientific consensus on climate change and acknowledge a role for free market business innovation as part of the solution? In the ongoing tussle over healthcare, can't we envision a system that combines the best private and government solutions? For now, something to appreciate. Growing public rejection of an unhelpful creationism versus evolution fight that does no favors for either religion or science. As more believers are wisely accepting, you can embrace both, and both are better for it." In other words, as you can see from these last 3 paragraphs of the article, what the USA Today and its author were saying is that, well, if you reject Young Earth Creationism and you embrace a compromise position like theistic evolution, then you have no logical grounds to stand against the globalist agenda. You have no logical grounds to stand against Black Lives Matter, or abortion, or climate change, or the magic virus, or the masks, or the jabs. You have no logical grounds to reject any of that stuff if theistic evolution or atheistic evolution is true. But if Young Earth Creationism is true and you embrace that, well then you have all the logical ground in the world to reject the entire globalist agenda and everything they want you to accept. And I have to say that while the Bible teaching a 6,000-year-old earth and universe is the strongest reason and the number one reason why I am a Young Earth Creationist today, this last reason is probably the second best, second strongest reason why I am a Young Earth Creationist today. The globalists don't want me to believe in Young Earth Creationism because then I won't go along with whatever they want to do. Well, gee, nothing wants to make me accept the Bible's teaching of a 6,000-year-old earth and universe any faster or harder. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen, the 10 reasons why I am a Young Earth Creationist today. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this, and if Brett is watching this, then I hope he got some insight into why it is that I'm a Young Earth Creationist, and I hope he realizes, and I'm sure he does at this point, that it goes a lot deeper than just the Bible says so. The Bible does say so, and that is the number one reason I gave. But there were 9 other reasons why I'm a Young Earth Creationist, and a lot of them had to do with observations in science and settled scientific facts. If you enjoyed watching this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos, leave your likes and comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video.